Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. My name is Stella Ogba Aburu, and I am super excited to have you on our platform today. This is another episode on Stellar Voices, and you are welcome. Stellar Voices is a platform where we showcase professionals, entrepreneurs, and people who are actually making a wave in the society. And today we have an amazing guest in our midst. Looking at his CV, his profile, I can tell you that Africa has no shortage of talent. We often lack systems and institutions that can actually turn this talent into sustainable impact. And today we have Mr. Solomon all the way from Abuja. Mr. Solomon, how are you doing today? Good morning.
Good morning, Stella. I'm doing very well. I'm excellent. How are you doing too?
Fine, I'm doing great. How is Abuja this morning?
Abuja is fine. We're doing very well. The weather is okay and everything is fine.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming today. All right.
Thank you.
So I have read your profile. I saw you are a business development consultant, institutional strategist, technical assistant, researcher, founder, author, and a lot more. But today I want us to focus on you as an individual and not just your title. I want us to have a conversation about you, your professional journey. Our first question for you today would be, if I met the 18 years old Solomon today, what kind of young man would I meet?
Okay, thank you very much. If you had met me when I was 18, we meet. I'll still be doing the same thing I'm doing now, but just different and unorganized. At that time, when I was 18, I was still doing my ND program, and like every young person, I wanted to be where the party was. But I couldn't afford gate fees every weekend. And at the same time, I needed to cover for my handouts, my feeding. So I found a way to make money itself. That time, I'll call myself a hustler because I learned how to DJ. I made palm slippers and sandals for myself. I made for my friends, my colleagues, my classmates. And eventually, at that age, I got a few of my friends to organize parties. We got paid for it. And looking back at that time, that would be my first entrepreneurial journey. Even though that was not the word we had for it then, we just call it hustle. Or it was a way I used to solve my own problems, and at the same time, I turned it into income.
Wow, amazing, amazing stuff. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what did the young man dream about becoming?
At that time
I
of my
mean the
life,
18 years old Solomon. Yeah.
okay, yeah, at that time of my life, I had many dreams, but most importantly, I wanted to make money. I wanted to be a big person. I wanted to have a very good future. And my dream was cut short. Initially, I wanted to become a medical doctor, but I wasn't admitted into University of Maiduguri to study medicine. Eventually, I got IGMB in Kaduna Polytechnic. Then later, I got admitted to study computer engineering. Just like every young person in my class, our lecturers became our role model, wanted to become engineers, wanted to become the stories they told us about successful engineers then. At that time also, I was a rap artist. I did a lot of writings, and I wanted to become a big star too, like the biggest musicians in that time. I had dreams of being signed to by Sam Clef and other music labels as at that time. Most of them are not existing currently, but that was just what I wanted to be at that time. My scope was limited then, but right now it's a lot different from what it used to be.
Oh, this is so nice. Okay. Was there a defining moment that changed the direction of your life? Was there a defining moment?
Yeah, during my project defense, after my ND, my project defense, I borrowed a suit from a friend. And when I put it on, it looked very good on me. At that moment, made me think, what if I became a banker? Well, I had an uncle I used to look up to as at that time. He was a branch manager in one of the biggest banks in Nigeria, UBA. But what was funny then was I didn't really like bankers because I thought they were rude, they were arrogant. Growing up, I went to the bank while I was in secondary school to open an account, and the guy was like, "What am I doing here? I should get out." And I felt very bad. And at that time, my mom sent me to the bank to make deposits for her. Being that it was my first time, I needed directions, and the person attended to me was also rude. But that moment when I wore that suit, it made me to realize that if I become a banker, I'll get to wear suits every day and it will look good on me. So basically, that was the defining moment in my life.
Wow, wow, amazing stuff. Thank you so much. So, looking back today, what failure are you now grateful about? Because seeing you today as a business development consultant, a lot has gone through the process of becoming such. So, what failure are you now grateful happened today?
A lot of things were defining in my life. The fact that I didn't get admission to study medicine. But looking at me now, I won't find it very difficult to kill chicken. So I would have imagined myself being a medical doctor, dealing with blood every day. Then
Wow.
working in a bank with after studying computer engineering, that was one of the things that shifted me to going back to school to study economics. So those failures, me not being a successful engineer or not having getting admission to study medicine, those periods of my life, I won't call them failure. I'll call them a redirection.
Beautiful. So, talking about entrepreneurship as a business development consultant, you have worked with entrepreneurs across Nigeria and as one of the pioneers of ICSS module in Nigeria. What do you think most people misunderstand about entrepreneurship?
So in Nigeria and Africa at large, people generally treat entrepreneurship as an event, such that when they start selling, buying and selling on the internet, or they start selling bed sheets or making cakes or something, the next thing is they want to register a business, they want to launch a product. But entrepreneurship is not like that. Entrepreneurship is a discipline that you practice daily. It is more serious than just starting something. No, the real version of entrepreneurship is it has to do with systems, it has to do with structure, it has to do with cash discipline and the ability to survive even after being wrong repeatedly. There's this common saying that the customer is always right. So how do you respond to your customer when they tell you something or they insult you to your face or they treat your staff anyhow? This is one of the things you need to understand as an entrepreneur. In the SMEs work I've done across Nigeria, the businesses in Nigeria, we are not short on ideas, but what we are short of is infrastructure. We lack infrastructure in Nigeria in our business practices. We lack proper bookkeeping. We lack succession planning, which is the problem most Nigerian businesses, even the most successful ones, have. Immediately after the founder dies, it ends. We lack planning. We lack market validation. We lack a lot of things. So we are not short of ideas. We are just short of structure. So I would just like to put it this way. Entrepreneurship is not an event. It is about the systems, about the structures we put in place.
Wow, this is really, really educating. Now, as a follow up question, how would you describe someone who owns a business and someone who is building an enterprise? So, what's the difference between them? Someone who owns a business and another who is building an enterprise.
Well, the difference is very simple. Like I mentioned earlier, it is systems. That is the difference. While one person that owns a business is into improvisation, that is just trying to improvise what to do today to survive. The person who owns an enterprise is actually into systems. Most entrepreneurs in Nigeria, like I mentioned, they're into the survival mode. They run business from inside their head. The pricing they do, they just give pricing without thinking about it. They have an informal relationship with their suppliers. And while those guys have enterprises, they've developed sustainable models that they follow. They have a process for procurement, a process for disbursement, a process for payment. And when they are not around, there's always someone who can make decisions. And because there's a structure that we already laid down, this decision can be trusted to go in the right direction, even when the founder is not available. That is just the difference. That is what separates that entrepreneur that builds a sustainable business enterprise and someone who remains in a survival mode. Thank you.
Wow, this is amazing. And we want to dive deeply now into the ICSS curriculum because I know you are one of the pioneers from the Kaduna Business School. Now, the ICSS simply means inspire, create, start, and scale. It is a very holistic module that talks about how to start, grow, and scale a business. So, from your own perspective, which ICSS module do you personally connect with the most as a business development consultant?
Okay. As business development consultants, well, I try to connect with every model, but in my personal life as a pastor and someone that deals with young people, I want to believe that the Inspire module is what resonates with me the most. And one of the reasons is because it is at this point where purpose is being awakened. And first, we need to develop mindset before skill. And that mirrors what the kind of work I do. So we help people see who they can become even before they know what they need to do. And that same principle applies in entrepreneurship work. Nigerians were not short of ideas, like I mentioned earlier, for the inspiration to carry on these things, the mindset that we can be successful, the mindset to believe that I can also do business. It is not for a selected few. That is the inspiration that we need to drive. And that is why this module, Inspire, resonates with me.
Beautiful. So, for someone who wants to start something or someone who wants to build something, he just have that idea in his head or her head, what one advice would you give that person based on your experience?
Okay, someone that has an idea that wants to build something, one thing we lack basically is learning. We just want to do, or we tend to want to practice a business and then we don't understand the business behind the business. So anyone that wants to go into business, I'll advise them and encourage them to learn the business before the business, because that is what will really sustain them. Because it is not enough for you to sell perfumes, but what do you know about perfumes you are selling? Do you know about allergies? Do you know about preferences? Do you know that there's a particular perfume that is an alarm to a particular set of religion? That is the business behind the business. It's not just limited to perfumes. It could also be with fashion. It could also deal with even the biggest other business brands, like even having a business center. What is the business behind the business? This is what someone who wants to go into business should really take his time to study, to learn.
Man, I can just go on and on asking so many questions because your response are indeed fantastic, educating. Thank you so, so much. So
Thank you,
let's move
Stella.
on to your personal life, your personal life now. I saw that you enjoy Chinese literature, and that is so fascinating because it's something you don't get to hear every day. How did that interest come about? Where did that interest begin?
Okay. It's a very funny one, but I was just scrolling through my phone, I think on Facebook, and I got to see these web novels. They'll usually post a chapter, and it was very captivating. That first chapter was very, very intriguing, and I decided to download the app. And I started reading. I discovered that the foundation of the story was based on the Chinese. And after finishing that particular novel, I read other ones and I discovered that something was unique to these Chinese novels. they talk about family, they talk about businesses, but this they talk about structures. I decided to study more to learn about these people. I realized that they are one of the most populous nations in the world. Usually, they used to be the most populous country before India overtook them. They have a population of over 1.4 billion people in the world. And these same people, they have a structure that even countries that are less populated than them are currently having civil wars every day. So I wanted to know, why are these people so organized? And I discovered that these people, they build their family unit first, and they build a communal before the national structures follow. And I realized that these people, they believe so strongly in foundation. So instead of just building an institution, they start from the foundation. They build the foundation first before they can develop a very, very strong business that doesn't just last within one generation, but it becomes intergenerational. And it is not just unique to the Chinese people. It is also unique to even the Japanese, the Koreans, and most of these Asians.
Wow, wow. So I could say now that you becoming a business development consultant was informed by different things that you have encountered in your life, even from the Chinese literature, from what you just said now. Wow, this is
Absolutely.
this is really amazing. So, what do you hope that a young entrepreneur learn from this conversation? Because I know a lot of persons will be watching and they want to learn from you as a person. What do you hope to learn from this conversation?
Well, I would want them to know that business is not just about the profitability. There are days when business will make you cry. There are days when business will give you sleepless nights. But at the end of it, how resilient are you to stand? And how developed is your emotional intelligence? Because if we're dealing with people, business is about dealing with human beings. Dealing with people is not just machines. So, how would you be able to manage people? How well have you developed your emotional intelligence? It's not just about doing a business and making profits, but then you need to learn, you need to study the business behind the business.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon, for coming on the
Thank you,
show
Stella.
today. Your work speaks volume, and I am super excited about the answers and how you responded to these questions. So, thank you very much. Now, my last question for you today would be in the business angle, what truth took you the longest to learn? What truth took you the longest to learn?
All right, I would say businesses can fail. It's not because you've done anything wrong, or it's not because you didn't do anything right, but it happens. Disruption happens. You can take a very long time, 10 years to plan for a particular business, and all of a sudden a disruption happens and you're back to square one. So disruption affects businesses, and this is what entrepreneurs really need to know, that disruption can happen anytime, and it's not because you've not done anything right or done something wrong. So when it's time to move to a new business, take the lessons you've learned from the previous business into the next business. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for coming on the show. I am super, super excited having you, and we have learned a lot today. You reminded me from this conversation that before building stronger businesses, you must learn the business behind the business. That is my take home today, and I am super excited having you on the show. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
I would love to see you some other time. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you for having
beautiful
me.
day. All right.
And you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you so much.